The God of War games convinced an entire generation that Zeus was the ultimate villain, a paranoid, power-hungry tyrant who feared being overthrown and deserved everything Kratos did to him. But what if I told you the game's entire premise is built on a dangerous misunderstanding? What if the mythological Zeus wasn't a tyrant at all, but the complete opposite? A liberator who saved the world from a far more monstrous evil, and whose tyranny was actually a desperate attempt to maintain cosmic order. In the world of God of War, Zeus is defined by one thing: fear. Fear of a prophecy, fear of his son Kratos, fear that the cycle of son-killing father will repeat itself. And to prevent this, he unleashes unimaginable cruelty upon both gods and mortals. He's a fantastic video game antagonist, a final boss who feels truly deserving of his fate. The problem is, this character is almost a complete invention for the sake of the plot. To understand the real Zeus, we have to look not at his rule, but at what came before it. His father, Cronus, the leader of the Titans, was the true tyrant. Driven by a prophecy that his own children would overthrow him, Cronus did something monstrous. He swallowed each of his children whole the moment they were born. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, all consumed by their own father. This wasn't political paranoia, it was cosmic horror. Zeus only survived because his mother, Rhea, hid him away. When he came of age, he didn't set out to conquer the world for power. He set out to free his siblings. He tricked Cronus into regurgitating his brothers and sisters, and together they waged a 10-year war against the Titans, the Titanomachy. Zeus's rise to power wasn't a coup, it was a revolution against an unnatural, child-devouring dictator. He established the Olympian order not on a throne of fear, but on the foundation of liberation. Once in power, the mythological Zeus's primary concern wasn't hoarding power, but maintaining cosmic balance and justice. One of his most important roles was as Zeus Xenios, the protector of travelers and the enforcer of Xenia, the sacred law of hospitality. In ancient Greece, where travel was perilous, this was a divine law that ensured strangers were treated with generosity and respect. Kings who violated this sacred trust by harming their guests would face Zeus's direct and terrible wrath. He wasn't just a king, he was a divine judge, upholding a moral code that held society together. Of course, Zeus was no saint. His punishments could be incredibly harsh. Look at Prometheus, chained to a rock for eternity for stealing fire and giving it to mankind. Or Atlas, forced to hold up the sky. From a modern perspective, these acts seem tyrannical, but in the context of the myths, they were punishments for cosmic crimes. These figures weren't just disobedient, they were threatening the fundamental order of the universe that Zeus had fought so hard to establish. His actions were those of a king, trying to prevent a relapse into the primordial chaos of the Titan era. And what about his most famous flaw, his constant infidelity? The myths are filled with tales of his affairs with goddesses, nymphs, and mortal women, often incurring the wrath of his wife, Hera. This is where the lines get blurry. He was arrogant, lustful, and often acted without considering the consequences for the women he pursued. These are undeniable personal failings of a deeply flawed character. But they are not the actions of a political tyrant. His lust was a character flaw. It wasn't a system of oppressive government driven by fear of being overthrown, which is the absolute core of his character in God of War. So where did Santa Monica Studio get it so wrong? They didn't get it wrong. They made a deliberate choice. For Kratos' story of vengeance to work, he needed a villain who was irredeemably evil. A complex ruler trying to maintain order after deposing a monstrous father just doesn't fit that mold. So, they took the prophecy that Cronus feared and simply copy-pasted it onto Zeus. They stripped away the context of the Titanomachy, ignored his role as a god of justice and order, and amplified his personal flaws into a singular motivation: paranoid tyranny. They flattened a complex mythological figure into a one-dimensional antagonist to serve their narrative. And while it made for an incredible game, it dangerously oversimplified one of the most important figures in Western mythology. So, which version of Zeus do you find more compelling? The game's purely evil tyrant, built for a story of revenge, or the mythology's deeply flawed god of order who fought a worse evil to take the throne? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments.